Hey, welcome to Big Doug's Treasure Chest. This episode I will be looking back at the greatest decade of all time, the 90s. I basically came out with the top 9 reasons why I was lucky to be a kid growing up in the 90s, and it's basically the top 9 biggest moments for me growing up as a comic collector in the 90s, and some cool shit that you guys might have forgot. And I just figured it was a good way for you guys to get to know me for a second video and everything. First thing I want to bring up, the 90s was a different time. We didn't have all these superhero movies like there is today. We had like some cartoons that were good and stuff, but we did not have blockbuster after blockbuster of awesome comic book movie. Like, we almost have a good comic movie every month now. Like, it's awesome. Back in the 90s, we did not. We had stuff like Spawn.
I don't know why I put up with all this crap.
However, we did get Blade, and Blade was fucking awesome. Even now, Blade's a pretty cool movie, but back then, like, we didn't have a comic movie like that. We didn't have comic movies, but Blade, just the crazy club scene in the start with all the blood coming down, the awesome. Blade theme song, like the Blade techno song or whatever it was like the best. Oh, such a good movie. Suddenly made you realize, hey, maybe we can have awesome comic book movies one day that aren't super cheesy. Because like in the 80s and early 90s, I'm not really sure when it was, I think it was the 80s, but there was this real bad Captain America movie. I was really small when it came out, and all I remember is he kept tricking people and stealing their cars and driving away.
Hey! Captain! Are you okay? Just... Don't leave me out here!
There was a Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren where he was always naked in the sewer, and it just showed him his butt from behind or something. And like the Batman movies were around, and Superman, those were kind of good. Well, we thought they were. Like, I recently rewatched Batman Returns. It does not hold up. The original Superman movies, though, like, they're not bad still. And then there's Howard Duck by the George Lucas guy. And I get Howard was kind of funny, but it still wasn't good, right? So, okay, anyway. Blade came along and was like, boom! Raised the bar. Completely raised the bar. So, for my first entry onto this list is Blade. Because it was one of the best moments I can ever remember was watching that movie in the 90s. Was Death of Superman. So like, Superman used to be just the shit. Like, you didn't beat him to the point where people were almost like bored with it, I think. So DC decided to shake things up. So yeah, Doomsday shows up, beats the shit out of Superman. Basically, Superman dies killing Doomsday, I think, or dies stopping him. It was right when I started reading comics, so I was just like, whoa, crazy, Superman can die? And then they drug it out for a while. There was like the Superboy and Steel and the Cyborg and that weird dude with the sunglasses. They all had like issues. One of the best things about the 90s was Todd McFarlane on Spider-Man. Like, Torment, I think, was the first one. I haven't read it well, but it was fucking sweet back in the day. Yeah, this is coming out of like the late 80s when he did all the Venom stuff, so like, this is probably when he's at his best. Then I had Spawn. And then, meanwhile, you got Jim Lee on X-Men, and Jim Lee is like, so good. Not to mention, I think Liefeld was on X-Force, Larson was on Amazing. But man, every cool position you can think of, Todd McFarlane would be drawing Spidey in. Like, and the shit with the webs, you didn't even know Spider-Man looked like he was using spray bombs or something before then. It was just gray shit shot out. But his webs were awesome. You didn't even know webs could look cool until Todd McFarlane did webs. Jim Lee is like the artist that gave the X-Men that awesome look, kind of like the inspired the 90s cartoon a little bit, but you know, that definitive X-Men look that we all kind of grew up and loved. That's all Jim Lee. Jim Lee is like, such a good artist. Some of the Batman and Superman stories and stuff he did the art for are just fantastic. Growing up and getting to buy their issues month after month on two of my favorite books was definitely one of the best parts about the 90s. Marvel versus DC. This was like the best miniseries ever. I remember like me and my friends all the time in school would argue about who would win between certain characters, and then we'd always be like, well, we'll never get to see it. And then along came Marvel versus DC, where Superman fought Hulk, Captain America fought Batman, Spider-Man fought Superboy, I think, a bunch of others, and it was just awesome. It was epic. It was like cover stock covers, or letter stock covers, the thick paper, just gorgeous art. You got to vote on who you would think would win the fights. I think Marvel won overall. Superman beat up Hulk, Batman beat up Captain America, Spidey took out Superboy. I can't remember the other matches off the top of my head. It was sweet. It was like the two brothers of the two universes were fighting, and then they eventually merged together and made Amalgam. And Amalgam was like 1 month where they released like 12 different issues where they combined characters together. Like this is Punisher and Punisher and Wonder Woman put together to create bullets and bracelets. And there's Spider-Boy, there's Dark Claw, which is probably the coolest one, Wolverine and Batman. But yeah, it was sweet. It was like, I don't know, I don't think we're gonna get to see that kind of stuff anymore now that like Warner Brothers and Disney owns these companies. But it was definitely like, I remember trying to buy all of these. So excited. And then the next year they did it again. There was like another Marvel vs. DC All Access or something. It was just another series, a whole bunch of another amalgams. But if you guys, like, they're usually cheap. They're like $1 on eBay or in the comic book shops usually. If you guys ever want to check them out, they're really cool. They're all from 96 or something like that, or 97, I'm not sure. Marvel vs. DC was easily one of my favorite moments, because like I said, it settled so many of those bets about who could beat who. And you got to see everybody together. I mean, one of my favorite scenes was they all got hit by something, and Thor's looking for his hammer, and Wonder Woman hands it to him, and he's just like, thanks, and he's like, hey, wait a minute, how did you, and she's already like flown away or jumped away or however the hell Wonder Woman travels. And yeah, anyway, Marvel vs. DC, I think it was a trade paperback, really, really good read. I haven't read it, yeah, really, check it out. Remember Death of Superman? Well, not a huge Superman fan. I am, however, a big Batman fan. And the one story that hit me way harder than Death of Superman, Nightfall and Breaking of the Bat. Bane comes along, like, who's this guy? Huge mofo. Beats up the toughest, most hardest to beat up superhero ever. Superman can die and Batman can have his back broken. Like, what the hell, DC? Azrael took over, I believe, for Batman for that little bit while he was healing. Apparently he was a dick to Robin, kicked him out of the cave and all this stuff. I haven't read it in a long time. I was pretty small when that came out. It was like 9. Highly recommend you guys do read it though. It was kind of inspired a bunch of Dark Knight Rises or whatever the fuck it was called. Really good story. Oh, another awesome Batman story from the 90s is No Man's Land. Gotham is so shitty, they take out all the bridges and they're no longer part of the states. So all the bad guys just run around and terrorize everybody, and Batman's basically on his own. Awesome story. And this is one of my favorite Batgirls too. She just kicks ass. Awesome Nightwing story. Yeah, check it out. No Man's Land and Nightfall. Remember how earlier I was talking about how awesome McFarlane was on Spider-Man and how awesome Jim Lee was on X-Men, and how awesome Eric Larson was on Amazing Spider-Man, and how awesome Liefeld was on X-Force. I think Jim Valentino did some book too. Basically, the 7 best guys at Marvel, artist-wise, were getting paid enough, and they asked Marvel for more money, and Marvel said no. So they formed their own company called Image. And Image destroyed the 90s. Like, oh, Mark Silverstreet was another one of them. Yeah, anyway, Image was like Spawn. Spawn was like, here's the #1 spot. I'm just gonna like chill out here for the next couple of years. Same with all the other Image books. All the best artists. It was the first time the creators owned their own books basically, and it became like the third biggest studio almost instantly. Image was always on Wizards like top 10. It was always the coolest books. It was always the best art. It was always delayed. It was always terrible scheduled. It was always really confusing, and felt like barely any series got past like a 4th issue. Other than like, you know, Spawn and Savage Dragon and maybe a few others. But yeah, Image was like, yeah, Image was awesome in the 90s. Oh, even Darkness and Witchblade and Top Cow and all that in the late 90s, like, they kind of dominated. A man by the name of Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is he's the king of the geeks. In the 90s, he was like our hero. He made awesome movies that we all looked forward to. He wrote comics. He's the ultimate fanboy, living the ultimate fanboy dream. Like, we all worship Kevin Smith. We still do today. Like Dogma, Chasing Amy, Clerks, Mallrats. I don't know how many times I watched Mallrats. Stan Lee's in it. Stan Lee's giving advice to Brody about
I just broke up. The Thing. Is this dork made of orange rock like the rest of his body?
It's a superhero secret. Tell me, Brody, why did you and your girlfriend break up?
The Thing's dick and someone else's dick, and basically Brody's got a lot of dick questions. But like, Kevin Smith worked all this into his movies, and you could tell he was a comic. Chasing Amy is all about a comic artist and an inker. I know inkers don't really count, but it's also about an inker. Tons of comic references. Brody was a huge comic collector in Mallrats. Jay and Silent Bob, that came out in 2000 though, but still, Jay and Silent Bob were in all the movies. It's just, when you think of the 90s, it's pretty hard not to think of Kevin Smith, because he was a huge part of it and a huge part of like the culture. Led way to just, it's okay to be a geek, because Kevin Smith's a geek and everybody thinks his movies are cool, so you can be a geek too. Okay. So in the 90s was from when I was 6 until 16. So I pretty much was the ideal age for cartoons. And one of the best things about being a comic fan in the 90s was the cartoons, because the 90s had the best comic cartoons. We had the X-Men animated series on Fox, which was like so good. I still have you know what I mean. The Batman animated series, awesome. It gave us Harley Quinn.
How you doing, sugar?
A-okay, Mr. J.
Some people might not know that. She didn't come from the comics. She came from the cartoon, then to the comics, which is very rare. But the whole Batman cartoon was just amazing. The Superman cartoon was equally as good. The Spider-Man, Spider Blood. All of these shows, like me and my brother would just, this is like what we looked forward to all week was Saturday and the new episodes. And we would just sit there glued for like 3 hours. Like, as much as I loved, like, so much from my heart goes out to all of these shows. There was one show, blows them all out of the water in the 90s growing up as a child who loved comics. I can't even think of a show that we loved anywhere near. We probably went as Ninja Turtles for Halloween like 3 years in a row. Like, nothing compared. Yeah, like cartoons in the 90s, cartoons are terrible. I try watching them with my kid all the time. Just what the hell is going on? I don't even think she knows. Okay, and the number one, my favorite thing about collecting comics in the 90s, like the one thing that I most look forward to month after month, was Wizard. Wizard made collecting comics so fun in the 90s, and when you read it, you felt cool, and you felt like, I don't know, it was hilarious. They'd have funny jokes, they had previews, I still have my Darkness half offer. It was the first half offer I ever got from them. most of us had subscriptions. We'd get it month after month, and then every month it would come, and we'd read it cover to cover. Like Wizard is, I don't know, it was our Bible. It sucks that it's gone. It basically got killed because of the internet. So being a magazine, it couldn't really keep up with instant comic book news. But I don't know, Wizard magazine, like the Toy Fair Theater was, they say it kind of gave birth to that Robot Chicken, or it helped inspire it. So like that's cool. I don't know, Wizard. It was just a really good magazine. It always had really good articles, and just it was so funny, and it was like comments before there was comments, and half offers and instant offers before there was half offers, and just everything that is kind of on the internet now. Wizard did it in a magazine form for comic book collectors before the internet was there, and we're all super grateful for that. So thank you, Wizard, for all the memories, and we miss you. Rest in peace. You were definitely one of the best things growing up as a comic collector that I got to experience in my life. So yeah, that's my top 9. I got another top 9 I might post, because I came up with so many things from the 90s that I loved about comics. Please subscribe. Every Wednesday, new episodes, so make sure you check that out. It's about different things you collect: video games, comics mostly, a bit of pops and toys and stuff. Yeah, please subscribe. Check us out every Wednesday. Dig Dug's Treasure Chest. Thanks for joining us. If you have your favorite things from collecting comics in the 90s, please post them in the comments. Same with any suggestions for future videos about collecting our comics, topics that you'd like. Throw them in the comments. Let's discuss it. I'm open to suggestions. All right, thanks, guys. Peace. Keep on collecting.